Here's the jaw-dropping irony that should have every space enthusiast questioning our priorities. Just when NASA discovers what could be the most groundbreaking evidence of life beyond Earth, the very administration that should be celebrating this achievement is actively sabotaging our ability to confirm it. The story begins with what should have been a moment of pure scientific triumph. NASA's Perseverance rover, currently exploring the Martian landscape, recently identified what scientists are calling potential biosignatures on the red planet. For those unfamiliar with the term, biosignatures are essentially chemical fingerprints that suggest the presence of life, either current or ancient. The rover collected rock samples containing minerals that, here on Earth, are closely associated with microbial life forms. But here's where it gets controversial, and frankly, infuriating. When NASA's interim leader Sean Duffy announced this potentially world-changing discovery, he couldn't even complete his opening sentence without lavishing praise on President Donald Trump. Yet behind this public display of loyalty lies a brutal contradiction. The Trump administration is simultaneously working to eliminate our best chance of actually confirming whether life exists on Mars. The administration has made it crystal clear that they want to completely cancel NASA's Mars Sample Return mission, the very program designed to bring those potentially life-containing rock samples back to Earth for detailed laboratory analysis. Think about the absurdity of this situation for a moment. We found what might be evidence of extraterrestrial life, collected samples that could answer one of humanity's most profound questions, and now we're choosing not to examine them properly. Now let's be fair, this isn't entirely about politics. The Mars Sample Return mission comes with a staggering price tag of $11 billion, and lawmakers have been sweating over those numbers for years. That's real money, and in times of budget constraints, every program faces scrutiny. But here's what makes this decision particularly short-sighted. We're not just talking about any random space mission. We're talking about potentially confirming the existence of life beyond Earth. And this is the part most people miss. The timing couldn't be worse from a strategic standpoint. While the United States debates whether to spend money on actually analyzing these samples, China is charging ahead with their own Mars Sample Return mission, scheduled to launch as early as 2028. Let that sink in. We might be about to hand one of the greatest scientific discoveries in human history to our biggest geopolitical rival because we couldn't commit to following through on our own findings. Instead of pursuing the sample return mission, the Trump administration wants to throw $1 billion at private space companies to send humans directly to Mars. On the surface, that might sound exciting. Who doesn't want to see astronauts planting flags on the red planet? But experts are shaking their heads at this approach, and for good reason. Dr. Bruce Jakosky, a senior research scientist at the University of Colorado Boulder, puts it bluntly. Our understanding of Mars has gotten to the point that the questions we're asking can best be addressed with return samples. He warns that abandoning the sample return mission would represent a major step back in exploring the solar system and the universe. Here's something that should concern everyone, regardless of their political leanings. Jakosky also points out that a sample return mission would help us solve important problems in planetary protection so that we don't put the Earth at risk from possible Martian microbes. In other words, if we're going to send humans to Mars eventually, we need to understand what biological risks might exist there first. The administration's preferred approach, jumping straight to human missions, is not only more complex and expensive, but also potentially dangerous. And if Elon Musk's track record with timelines tells us anything, relying on private companies to get us to Mars quickly might be overly optimistic. SpaceX's Starship program, which would likely be central to any Mars mission, has faced significant technical challenges and delays. When pressed by reporters about the possibility of China beating America to this scientific breakthrough, NASA's Duffy offered nothing but empty platitudes. "We lead, and we are going to continue to lead," he insisted, "but it's always important that we keep pushing." But pushing toward what exactly? How do you lead in a scientific race when you're actively choosing not to compete? The most frustrating aspect of this entire situation is how it reflects our current approach to long-term scientific investment. We're willing to spend billions on flashy human missions that might happen decades from now, but we're unwilling to spend money on actually analyzing the extraordinary discoveries we're making today. This raises some uncomfortable questions that deserve honest answers. Are we making decisions based on sound scientific priorities? 0. Storychief.io/blog/types of content writing, #storychief.io/blog/types of content writing. Are we making decisions based on sound scientific priorities? /walkersands.com/article/7 easy tips for effective content writing. /blog.hubspot.com/marketing/professional content mistakes. 3. contentmarketinginstitute.com/AI content creation tools/31 great content writing examples, tips, and tools. https://contentmarketinginstitute.com/AI content creation tools/31 great content writing examples, tips, and tools. 4. backlinko.com/hub/content writing. 5. kayleemore.com/blog/2021/6/24 writing tips from a professional editor. https://blog/2021/6/24 15 writing tips from a professional editor.